Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. This is a quick video just to show you how to change the strings on your bass guitar. Now I've just bought this, well I haven't just bought it, I've had it a while. This is a Tony Butler, a vintage Tony Butler signature bass, V4, from the vintage company JHS, John Hornby Skews. I think that's what that stands for. They've been going years. I remember as a kid I used to have a JHS amp, but they do the vintage range. They are really good. I highly recommend them. This cost me roughly 300 quid, and I would put this up against any Mexican Fender. Certainly the quality I think is just as good. I've changed the pickups on this. It did originally have the Wilkinson Alnico vintage pickups, which I thought were a little bit thin, so I put these Entwistle neodymium pickups in. They're really cheap, they're only 30 quid. I've heard some great things about them, huge output on these, so that's why I've changed that. It was a lot of trouble getting it in the pick guard. If it looks a bit rough, that's why. I had to get the Dremel out to get them in. They wouldn't fit properly otherwise, and to be honest I haven't done a fantastic job, so that's why the pickups around, or the pick guard looks a bit rough around the edges, but that was just to get the pickups in. Quick word before you do change your strings on your guitar. Obviously these strings have been, the old strings have been taken off here. They were already off anyway, so I didn't get that on video, but the best tactic for that is to just, you know, have them on the guitar, slacken them off first obviously, and just snip them with a side cutters, and then you can just pull them out and just unravel them from the machine heads up there. So once that's done, if you've got a rosewood fingerboard, now I haven't, obviously I've got a maple one here and that's glossed, so it's not going to need cleaning at the moment, and it's relatively new too, so that's not going to need it. But if you've got a rosewood fingerboard or an ebony fingerboard, don't use lemon oil. I see everybody using lemon oil at the moment, and it is the biggest pile of crap going. Get hold of some of this stuff from Crimson Guitars. I'm not sure whether you can see that or not, but it's the Fretboard Restorative, and it's the finish, sorry, it comes in two parts. There's the finish cleaner and there's the restorative. Really good products for about the same price as the lemon oil you'll get from most companies, certainly Diodario, etc. And it's really good. It contains only natural oils, as it says there on the, I don't know if you can see that or not, on the label. So you haven't got any of the nasty shit that goes into the lemon oil. Honestly, if you see there's no lemon in lemon oil, it's just the smell. But there really is some nasty stuff in there, like oils and stuff like that, which have been reputed to be carcinogenic. So go for this stuff. It's about the same price. I'll put a link in the description below. So we've got the strings off. Fretboard doesn't need cleaning, but if you've got a rosewood fingerboard, do it. Use that stuff. For strings, I use Pro Steels from Diodario. Now, it's up to you what you use. I'm really not going to say which one's the best. I've got a few favourites. I'd like DR high beams. I like these Pro Steels, which go for 22 quid. And there's a couple of other makes as well, but them two are both my favourites. One I particularly don't like, and it annoys me because they're an English company, is Rotor Sound. They tend to eat up the frets. They're very rough and very harsh, and from my experience they don't last long. Now when I was a kid, started playing, you know, back in the early 80s, that was really all you could get, and they weren't great, so I'd avoid them if I were you. But I mean, it's up to you. I'm not going to say which ones you should go for. It's personal preference. Try them all out, see which ones you like. Right, so we've got that out of the way. Let's get the strings on. Right, I'm just going to open these up. Now with these Diodario strings, the gauge is 45 to 105. I prefer that gauge. I think the hundreds are a little bit light. I prefer the 105 and 45, sometimes even 50 I go for, but that's the sort of 50 to 105. That's the sort of roughly the gauge I go for. 45s now and again, as is the case here. Now these Diodarios, they're colour coordinated. I don't know if you can see that. They've got a key on the back of that. That'll give you an idea of what strings are what. Always refer to that. I have in the past put strings on wrong because I haven't referred to this, so do it. That's my advice to you. Now let's go for the E string first. All right. Now I'm calling it an E string, but I chew down to D standard. So that will be my D string. Okay, so I've got on this bass here, I have got, it's a Goto bridge. I don't know if you can see that, but I replaced the the bent bit of tin, as it's known, and put that on. It was an old bridge I had kicking about, so I put that on instead. It's just I don't think it makes any difference to the sound. People say it gives you more sustain. Do you really want sustain on a bass guitar? On a lead guitar or a rhythm guitar, yeah, you will, but not on a bass. I don't think so anyway. But that's just me. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to get this through the opening. I do apologise for sniffing. I've had a cold recently. I also had the COVID jab, and that knocked me for 6. I felt really rough after it. I'm not saying don't get it, but I went when I had a cold, and it fucking really knocked me for 6. I had a really bad night. Okay, so we're just going to thread that through there, like that. Alright, now what you want to do, just lay it down there for a sec. And now I've got one of these. This is an Ernie ball sort of guitar maintenance kit. They're quite expensive. You don't need to spend that sort of money on this type of kit, but it does contain a string winder, which is really handy, and a fairly decent side cutters. But you can pick up side cutters, or some people call them nips or whatever, but you can pick them up relatively cheap. Good makes, you know, it's worth paying out a little bit extra. Don't get a cheapo one because they won't stay sharp for long, and you know, they tend to get very stiff. But this seems to be a reasonably good make. They've put their own brand on it, but this is a generic make, but it seems to be okay. Now what you want to do, let me just get this out of the way. What you want to do is you want to cut your string to roughly the 3rd machine head. This is on your E string. Alright, so cut it about there. Keep that well out the way of your fingernails, because if you get one of them underneath your fingernails, believe me, you will know about it. Right, so once you've done that, you get the end of the string and you just wrap it around the machine head like so. And what you want to do, you want to wind the string so it's going down in cycles rather than going up. You want to get the string as low as possible. That will give you the correct tension. Now I'm just going to tighten this up just so it's relatively in tune. I'm not going to use the tuner on it yet. I just want to get some purchase on that. And leave that like that. Right, 2nd string is the A, which is red, which is this one. So again, you just thread this through. Now a lot of you might know how to do this already, so this is probably going to sound a bit patronising, but some people, you would not believe, some people still do not know how to put strings on properly. I will say one thing about these Goto bridges. They are quite hard to thread the string through. Again, just at the end of the string, just snip off about, I don't know, 40 mil, 50 mil, something like that. Wrap it around the machine head. Hold it down onto the nut and then just wind so as you get some purchase on it. Don't worry about tuning it up for now. Now once this is done, I'm going to have to set this guitar up because I haven't set the bridge up yet. I was waiting for the pickups to be delivered, so now that they're in, I am going to have to set the bridge up to the correct height and the correct action and intonation, etc. Okay, got a little bit of purchase on that one, so we're going to leave that there. Next one is going to be the black, which is your D string. If I can get this out. Always. So again, just thread your string through there. Obviously the thinner the string, the easier it is going to be getting through there. And again, for your D string, you're not going to need to cut off as much, so I would say just about 30mm, something like that. Dump that down now. Again, wrap it round the machine head. So you're going clockwise around the machine head. Try and get 2 turns on it. Don't try and go for a third, just get 2 turns on it. Under the string retainer, obviously if you're using you're restringing a fender type bass. Just wind that up, get a bit of tension on it. Don't bother tuning until all the strings are on, because what will happen is you're going to create different tension as each string goes on. So there's no point tuning it up and then putting another string on, because you're going to be increasing the tension on the neck and your tuning will go out that you've just tuned. So as I say, just wait to the end before you get when you get all the strings on. So again, you may not on the G string on these, you may not even need to nip any off. I don't tend to. As long as I've got 2, as long as I can get it round twice, that's good enough for me. And then you just slot that in, tighten it up again, get some tension on it. Now you can use a string winder, I've got one there, but they're only better on guitars in my opinion than basses. Basses, the ratio is quite good. So yeah, there you go. Would you believe these, they use them for tattooing in Russian prisons? Guitar strings dipped in soot mixed with piss. Nice. Don't get arrested in Russia and end up in prison. Otherwise you'll end up getting tattooed with a guitar string. There you have it. Right, now action looks pretty good from what I can see, so I'm not going to touch the action yet. Gonna tune up now. I've got one of these Boss tuners, they're really good. This is the TU80, and what I like about it is it will give you a bleep when it's in tune. So go to the what will be my F, or if you're G, if you're tuning to E standard. Right, if you can hear that over the dog barking, that bleep means it's in tune. Now that will be my C. Next one will be my C, or your D if you're tuning to E standard. And there's the bleep. Here's the bleep. Well, it was the bleep. Yeah, so that's roughly in tune. I'm going to go back on them, so I'm not too concerned at the moment. Next one will be my G, or your A if you're in E standard. Yeah, and then this will be my D, or your E if you're in E standard. Right, so that's roughly. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to stretch the strings. Just give them a pull on each one, a couple of times, a few times, just so as you're stretching them, because this will be what will happen if you start playing. You're obviously going to stretch the strings and they'll go out of tune again. So if you stretch them now, it will save you retuning. So as you can see, it's gone out. So I'm just going to get that back up to F. Oops. It's quite resonant, this guitar, so obviously them vibrations and knock the tuner off. And going up to D. D. And again, the G's out of tune, so this is why I always say you should stretch your strings. There's G. Go up to D again. And there's your D. Again, give them another stretch. I'll do it one more time. I normally do it twice. So, do it again. And again, it's gone out of tune, so just give them another twist on the machine head just to get it up to pitch again. D hasn't gone out. G slightly. And D is well out. And there you go. So that's it. That's how you change a set of bass guitar strings. Now obviously I've got to set this up and get the correct height because it's a new bridge. Normally, unless you're changing gauges of strings, you just plug in and run. But as I say, I've put a new bridge on this, so the action isn't looking too bad as it goes. I don't know whether you can see that or not. It's a little touch high maybe, but I'm going to drop that down, and hopefully what I'll do is I will give you a demonstration of this bass and the new pickups that have gone into it, the Entwistle pickups, the PBXN, with the neodymium magnets, and I've also got the two Harley Bentons to show you as well, so watch out for them.